Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt. Welcome to the New Brick Workshop. Now, this is the third video in my whole table series, and this one is just about veneering. And the reason I've done one just about veneering is simple. When I did some of the earlier work on the bits and pieces that form the main frame, I decided to veneer one of these rails here, and I thought it looked quite good. But I didn't video it, and quite a few people have asked me about how I went about it. And part of my plan is to veneer the drawer front. So this video is about how I went about veneering this drawer front. Now, it's only just sitting there as a drawer front. Slightly tight. It will eventually be made into a drawer, and this will be sanded a little bit. Now, the drawer front is going to be made out of a piece of MDF, and this is a piece of Medite moisture resistant MDF, and you can tell it's Medite moisture resistant because it has a very hard layer of MDF on the outer edges, and the inner part of it is slightly green, but it's really good, and I make all of my Traxel cutting stations from this, and this is an odd end I had left over from the last one I made. Now, what I need to do, because this is going to be veneered, I need to edge this with the same wood that I'm using for the veneer. And I'm using maple for the veneer, so I've got some solid bits of maple, which I'm going to now put all the way around this with mitre joints, so that when the veneer is attached, it protects the edge if it gets knocked, because there'll be a solid hardwood underneath that veneer. And also it'll make the edges look as though it's solid wood, I suppose. So that's what I'm just about to do now. Now, when I cut mitre joints to go around a picture frame or something like this current task, I mark it approximately, but slightly long, do a cut, offer it up, see how much more I've got to take off, and then take a little bit off, and so on until I've got it absolutely spot on. Now, it's really useful using the lasers on the Capex for this, because you can cut very close to pencil mark. So I can offer this up. I've already cut one piece here. I've actually already cut one there as well. I can use this one I've cut here to go at the side like so. And oh, amazingly, that is absolutely spot on. Well, that's most unusual, but anyway, if I had to cut anything off, I would now mark it and take it to the saw again. So that's quite amazing. It doesn't happen very often. And I've already got this long one here, and all I need to do is cut another long one of the same length. I'm just going to put this clamp on just to show you a sort of a neat way of approaching this. I'll just tighten that clamp up. These end pieces are exactly right now in the right position, and I can confirm that that piece I've already cut is spot on. I'm just going to offer it up to this other side. It would be perhaps 0.1, 0.2 of a millimetre too long, not sure, but I'm going to use it as a template. I've got my piece ready to be cut for this job, and we'll see how it goes. I'll mark it both ends. Yeah, it's slightly long. I just got to take a little bit off. I'll do that at Capex, come straight back. I've done that cut. So there are my pieces. Now, because I've made this one up individually to size and the others as well, I'm going to put little pencil marks so that I know where each piece goes. So when I do the gluing up, which is the next stage for this, I know that the pieces are going back exactly where they are now. So the way I'm going about this is as follows. These end pieces, which were there a few minutes ago when I was doing the cutting of the longer bits, are not glued, and they're held in place with this clamp. And I'm going to leave them held together with that clamp. And I'm now going to glue up the long pieces, put clamps across here, then I'll release these side pieces, put glue on that, and clamp that up too. And one thing that's worth mentioning is that MDF is a little bit absorbent, and so it's a useful idea to put a little bit of glue onto the MDF and let that soak in a little bit. So I now put that on there. Then when you're doing this and you've got two sides to sort out, quite useful to start in the middle, and the reason for that is that you can't guarantee that the maple is dead straight, and you may have to encourage it back into straightness as one goes on. And I'm going to put some glue on these. I'm also going to put a bit of glue straight onto the MDF, and of course onto these mitered edges here as well. And now I'm going to put this long clamp back on there. Now I'm in the process of sanding the edging off now so it's flush with the MDF, and what I've done is I've used my pencil over the whole of the MDF, and when I've sanded the edging down so it's flush, then I'll start to remove my pencil mark and I'll know that I've done enough. And I've started it on this side, as you can see, and I've just got this end to do, but there's a tiny bit here as well, so I'll just demonstrate that now. Now it's important to get that bit right. The reason is that when the veneer goes on here, you don't want to have a telltale difference in height or whatever you like to call it, a little ridge where the veneer fits on here. It's got to be perfectly flat. Check that, feels good. So that's that bit ready for veneering. Now I do not profess to be an expert at veneering, but I've got this tight bond veneer glue, which I got from Axminster. I've got some veneer, and I'm just going to cut two pieces which are just big enough to cover both sides of this piece of wood. Now, I'm going to use a pair of scissors to cut this, and I'm going to cut it slightly oversize. Now the way I've gone about this in the past is that I've put glue on the veneer and glue on the wood, brought the two together and then clamped it up. I've given this glue a jolly good shake. I've had this a long time, but I've made sure it's not got really cold. Never allowed it to freeze, for example, which I know if you're keeping stuff in a shed or in an outhouse, there is a risk of it going below freezing. Should make sure it doesn't happen. So there's my glue already. Now, in order to get the glue onto the wood, I'm going to use a roller to get this on. Now, you may remember I said before that MDF can be quite absorbent, so I'm making sure that I do get enough onto the surface of the MDF, and I'm doing my very best to get an even coating of glue. So that's that bit, and I'm going to lay this down on here. Turn this over, that's that bit. Now at this stage the drawer front is slightly oversized, and that's deliberate, and that then allows me to plane off the edges, and any glue that might stain the edges will be completely lost. Now let's look at this. As I said, I am no expert, and I'm perfectly happy to acknowledge any comments that people who do this for a living, who know a lot more about it than I do, might have to say as guidance for other people who might be trying this, because this is just a method I've used and it seems to work, but it may not be the best method. Now we need some greaseproof paper used to stop the glue sticking to the pieces that I'm going to use to spread the load. This piece is going to go on there, like so. I'll put this on. Now it is important that these load spreading pieces go beyond the edge of the actual drawer front. If they don't go beyond the edge and it's just to say a line there, then the veneer can actually be not quite glued on to the very edge of the piece. And it's very important it is. So that's in place. I've now got to start clamping it up. I've just put the first 2 clamps on. I'm just going to make sure that my spreader pieces go beyond the edges. That's okay there, fine, so that's okay. Now I can start bringing in my other clamps. So I'm really making sure these clamps are tight. I put some extra ones on because you can never have too many clamps in a situation like this, because a real veneer press would have put probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of pounds per square inch, I really don't know. But I needed to put as much pressure on this as possible. Right, I'm going to leave that to dry overnight, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that in the morning that is perfect. Well, it's time to take these clamps off now. Well, here we go. We'll see how well this turned out. Well, it seems to be okay. My next task now is to trim the veneer so it's more or less flush with the edge, and then to start cleaning it up properly. Now, I'm really not sure the best way to go about trimming the excess veneer off. I know a friend of mine just pushes it with his hand and then cleans up the edge separately. But my worry is that I may get a bit of veneer that comes detached from the base. So I'm just going to try trimming it very carefully to get the worst off. Well, it seemed to work okay. I'm holding this with these clamps because I don't want the bottom edge to get damaged. So we'll just see if I can do this next bit successfully. So having used my knife to take off the excess veneer, I then used my little block plane just to smooth it completely. I then planed it just a little bit more to get it to fit, which is all very straightforward. Now in the next video I will show you how I went about making the drawer, and then there will be a final video which will be about putting it on the top and also the finishing with Osmo, of course. Many thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.